Hello, welcome back to Lumps of Life. I'm Jared Lumsden, and today I have another awesome guest to talk with. Um, Got to talk with her at the gym a few times, have a very like-minded mindset, and quite a badass person. And yeah, we get to dive into the world of her bodybuilding adventure. Welcome, Miss Renny Young. Thank you for
Hi, thanks for
joining me.
having me. Yeah, thanks for having me.
So we just happened to connect at the gym one morning because I was laying on the ground dying doing abs and was watching you do the hip thruster machine with what looked like about 4 times your body weight, and it was quite impressive.
Yeah, and you caught me probably in the midst of, I would say, failure. So it was like, oh, it doesn't even look like she's lifting that much, but I was dying.
Quite the opposite. See, that's something I didn't know that. Like that was something I learned very recently. Was I always just looked at the 8 to 10 reps as like, oh, I need to get 8 to 10 reps. That's just, I didn't realize that, oh, it should be you're building to get to 10. You want to be pushing to get to 8 and have that failure point. That's kind of how you build that muscle, and then you kind of build yourself up to that 10. Once it gets easy again, then you kind of start over. And I didn't realize that was like, oh, that makes so much sense, like what that meant. So that was something I literally just started doing recently. So no, quite the opposite. It was like, oh shit, like that's impressive. Then you tried to kill me with a new ab thing that you showed me.
Yeah, for sure. Like when it comes to the failure set for me, I think it really just depends on like what your goal driven, your goal is and what you're driving towards. My failure set is always my last set. So like, I build myself up to like a progression, obviously,
Mhm.
and like overload my weight as much as possible.
Okay.
And so my very last set. So normally, depending on the day, like for instance, if it's like leg day, it's my highest macro day and my highest calorie intake day. So that is the day that I'm pushing the hardest and the heaviest. And so I'll usually do like 4 sets of 10. And then on that fourth set will be the most amount of weight that I have on. And I go until I just can't go anymore. Now, I
Yeah.
don't know how other people feel, but that's what I do. And it works the best for me. And that's how I continue to actually grow the tiny little muscles that I have. So,
So I listened to Arnold Schwarzenegger on, I think it was a YouTube clip. I don't remember what interview it was on, but they were asking him what he did and how he trained it. And that was kind of how he explained it, was that to that failure point and shocking your muscles. Basically, he was like, most people will like, oh, well, I have like these later like lifts or these things I need to save my energy for. And he was like, no, I just like, I train everything that way. He was like, I
mhm,
look at everything that way. He explained like how he trains each muscle, the way he looked at like how you build your shoulders, the way he looked at his diet. And it was fascinating. And it was like, oh, okay. I didn't realize this much went into it. Like, you don't. So I kind of want to backtrack. You made a comment about a big macro day. So
yeah.
that's something that you hear it a lot, especially this time of year. It's the first of the year. You have a lot of people going back to the gym. Can you kind of backtrack that and explain like how you learned about your macros and like why that is important with what you're doing?
Yeah, for sure. I want to start off by saying, obviously, people hear the word macros all the time and they're like, oh my God, I don't know what that means. I don't know what
Mhm.
that is. So, the basics of that is obviously it has to do with the amount of food that you're intaking, and those macros consist of, and it will only consist of this, is your protein intake, your carb intake, and your fat intake. And then obviously, everything overall is called your caloric intake.
Mhm.
So, with that, macros for any type of progression of like bodybuilding or just growing muscles in general is really, really important. And actually, every day to day basis is really important. If you want to maintain your weight, if you want to increase your weight or decrease your weight, macros and diving down into that is the most important part of anything when it comes to the gym and seeing progress in your body. So, like for instance, for me, today is actually Monday. So, that means it's my highest macro day and highest caloric intake day. So, what that looks like on this current cycle that I'm on, because I go through different types of
Mhm.
cycles because of the type of bodybuilding that I do. um, is anywhere from 2,400 to 2,500. And that sounds like, oh, then, that's nothing. But I also only weigh 115
Yeah,
pounds.
for yeah.
Yeah. So with that being said, like being on point with that is where you're going to know how your body's actually going to succeed and or not succeed. So if you don't continue to hit it and you're under or you're way, way over, you're not going to progress the way that you should.
Yeah.
So how I learned about it obviously is through my coaches and people who were more educated than me at the time, and now I've been educated. So I can help, hopefully help, teach other people about it. So like, I don't want to like discourage people when they're like, oh, well, I can't lose weight because of X, Y, and Z. When really, if you just pay attention and understand the basics of what the macros are that you're consuming every day, you can drop weight faster than you think that you can, even with just little to no progress like
Oh.
at the gym. So,
Well,
um,
especially if you realize like, when I started realizing how bad a lot of the food I was eating was, like,
mhm,
things that I in my head were like, "Oh,
mhm,
that's me, like, eating healthier. That's me being, like, on a diet," was nowhere in the realm of where I'm at now.
yeah,
Like, what I used to think was a diet was like, "Oh, if I go to McDonald's and get a Diet Coke instead of a Coke, I'm doing great." Like, that was my mindset of, and now that I'm doing this, like, little mess ups in my diet or little bad days make, like, my body feel completely different. It makes my, like, I can feel like my water weight feels different, like, my face looks puffier if I eat something that's super salty or whatever. It's like, "Oh, my," like, I'm retaining this stuff now differently, but before, that was never like my brain. So if somebody said macros to me, it was like, oh, like that was so far
yeah,
out of the realm of possibility for me of like I didn't even want to count calories or look at those things or pay attention to anything. And but then I went the wrong way with it, and then I turned it into, like, another eating disorder where I wasn't eating at all, basically. Like, it was protein shake in the morning, and I just wouldn't eat. But in my brain, it was, "Oh, I'll lose weight faster. I'm working out every day, so I'll still build muscle." I didn't realize
mhm,
that how much the food, but it was a bad relationship with food. It wasn't, it was me not understanding it and screwing it up so many times that, but I just, like, I couldn't wrap my head around what the macros meant. Like, it still, it makes sense to me, like, I understand now, and but that's just because I use AI very,
yeah,
very religiously to track everything. Like,
right.
it's what I use for my entire diet. So, how, so what is, like, what does a day like that look like for you? Like, for your big day like that, what does that look like food intake wise for you?
Yeah, so I'll be honest with you. It's not like your typical average progress people, like at the gym, who's just wanting to lose weight and
Mhm,
just to be your normal person in the gym, right? For bodybuilders, it's a lot different. It's more like on point consistency, and when I mean that, it takes a I don't want to say it takes a long time to get there because it really doesn't. It all depends on like where you are mentally to be able to
mhm,
do this. And so I finally got to that point to where I'm like, okay, I'm there mentally. What can I do to progress with my body and finally feel good with it and actually grow? So, what that looks like in a day for me is, I kid you not, every single Monday and almost every day, depending on what my carbs look like, I eat in the morning, I eat egg whites, I eat white rice, and some type of cheese so I can get some fats. And now
mhm.
I'll mix that up from time to time and add like oats, a banana, and also egg whites. So I always get protein in every single one of my meals. And I eat anywhere from 5 to 6 times a day.
Yep.
So, and that seems like a lot for me. And then for like lunch, I will have salmon because I'm a pescatarian. So I have to get my protein kind of
Okay.
that way. So I'll get it through eggs and I'll get it through fish and then I'll get it through dairy products. But with dairy products, you have to be kind of careful, along with some certain fishes too, because then it
Mhm.
throws me over my fats. And then I'll still continue to have white rice because for bodybuilders, it's better to have simple carbs instead of complex carbs because we want to burn through it as fast as possible throughout our workouts and not actually store said um, carbs and sugars inside of our system. So
Mhm.
we want to be able to burn through it while we have our workouts, and then continue to eat again. And then I'll do vegetables. So the vegetables for me anywhere consists between sweet potatoes, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, and or asparagus. And I don't really go outside of that, only because it tends to mess with my digestive system. And you kind of
Yeah.
get into a weird digestive system with that. Dinner looks almost exactly like lunch. I have a protein shake after every single meal. I do a pre workout before every workout. If I'm still not at my macros, I'll have like a snack, like maybe a protein bar and or some fruits. I don't do all fruits just because there's too much sugar in them. So that's another thing I have to watch, because obviously carbs equals sugar.
Yeah.
And
So,
so
can I
you
stop
get
you
it down
there?
to a science. Yeah, go
So
ahead.
even the natural sugar is something that, like, because 'cause I've looked at that as well, like, when there's things that I'm eating that it's like, "Oh, there's natural this," and then it's super high in sugar. It's so even the like, the natural sugars from the fruit kind of affect you similarly to what, like, obviously, it's not as bad as the processed sugar, but it does still kind of hold that same, like, process, I guess?
Yeah, no, for sure. So obviously, depending on the type of carb that you're consuming, depends on how long the said sugar stays in your system.
Okay.
For me specifically, and anybody that's like me and doing what I'm doing, you want to go with the most organic of sugars,
Mhm.
obviously, if you're going to do that, because your body can burn through it a lot faster. And the point of
Okay.
having said carbs while working out is so your insulin spikes. When your insulin spikes, you get this rush of, oh, I can lift really heavy. I can do all these things because I have all
Yeah.
this energy. When you're depleted from that, your body just kind of crashes after not having enough carbs, or having the amount of carbs, and your body just kind of, dips down. But with that, yes, you can do your fruits and your vegetables, and it's great. You just have to monitor it. And it sounds so dumb and so exhausting when you get down to it all. But if you
Yeah.
love the science and the base behind it, you'll understand that your body actually kind of needs those ups and downs, and not constant consistency, because that's where your body gets used to things and your body's not
Yeah.
really supposed to. So, well, I don't think it's really supposed to.
No, well,
So,
that's another like, that's that thing with the lifting, like, shocking your body, switching up your even if it's just, like, doing your routine in reverse order, like, that way your body isn't getting used to that day to day, you're continually shocking it. That's what this year my wife had asked me, it was after we talked, my wife had asked, like, "Hey, could you put into AI and see like what it would take for you to start training that way?" So I basically just plugged in my scan, plugged in everything and was like, "Hey, what would this entail?" And basically it just gave me the tweaks. It was like, "Okay, you can add this, this, and this. You can change this, this, and this in your diet." And obviously I'm not doing it full bore like to compete. It's not, it's
yeah.
more of a just like, okay, let's see how close I can get. Let's see what difference this makes month over month in my body. So I've kind of like, I don't know, I just changed to a bunch of like, I added a lot of barbell lifts to my like day to day. I'm doing 4 sets instead of 3 now. The food intake, like, but it genuinely helped me with my food intake because I didn't realize how far off I was, and I didn't realize how it was affecting everything. It was affecting my hormones, it was affecting my lifts. Like, now that I'm eating breakfast before I lift, I always lifted fasted. I don't know that I don't eat breakfast. That's not something I've ever done. So I've always lifted fasted. And my workouts were always like 250 to 350 on my watch as far as like what my burn was. And then I started eating like an actual breakfast that it was like kind of designing for me. And then my chest workout was 1,000 calories one morning. And it was like, oh, like this is a whole different, like the way my strength is, my energy, what I'm able to output, like, oh, this really makes a huge difference.
Yeah, for sure. And it really does. It's kind of like a weird science to that too, because
Yeah.
for the longest time, like in the midst of all this, I really would only eat like maybe 2 hours prior to a workout, or yeah, prior to a workout. And that was great. I still had enough energy to,
Mhm.
push me through it. But the point of said eating prior to, not necessarily like 5 minutes before, unless you want to throw up, but like, but maybe like an hour to 45 minutes prior to actually lifting and stuff and or doing any type of workouts is to actually fuel you, if you're eating the right things, is to fuel you through said workout and push you yourself as hard as you possibly can through it. So people are like, oh, I'm not eating before the gym. I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
well, that's fine. I
Yep.
can't drink a whole lot. It's hard for me to drink my pre-workout 30 minutes prior because like when I get in there, I'm like, ugh, there's so much fluid on my stomach, but I make it through it somehow. I'm going to
Oh,
end up
I'm
being one of those people that throws up, but we'll see.
That would be
Uh,
great though if you're just in midst workout and you just projectile like red
oh
mist into
my
the
God,
ether.
no,
Because like most people would have no idea what just happened. It would look like you
no.
were working out so hard, you just like projectile blood into the world. So like
Oh
I mean
my
that could kind
gosh.
of look cool, I guess. I mean, may not be what you're going for, but
Yeah, no, most definitely not. No, like I try
so
to, yeah.
so what kind of flipped you into doing this? Like what was that moment that was like, "Oh, like I wanna like I think I can do this."
Yeah, so this is probably my absolute favorite question because it gets into the real the I would say the real me that people
Mhm.
get to see. The ugly and not so like playful or cute or whatever, but the real like ugly deep version of me, which
Yeah.
every person has. I would say like it was most definitely an internal flip for me because I struggled my whole entire like life with people pleasing and being somebody for someone else when the real me on the inside's like, what are you doing? Just stop and be who you want to be. And if people don't like it, then just kick rocks kind of a
Yep.
thing. But like for and you can't tell people this, and this is the thing, you can tell people until you're blue in the face, but until they, and I'm going to point at my chest because I'm meaning your soul, your spirit, your inner person, until you realize it with inside yourself instead of someone telling you, it's not going to happen for you. And I hate to
Mhm.
say that because it sounds discouraging, but until you feel it and see it for within yourself, then you realize that I am good enough. I am worthy. You know what? I actually really like who I am as a person on the inside, and I want other people to see it. And if they don't like it, then it is what it is. And that's really what kind of switched it for me because I finally started telling myself, I am good enough. I
Mhm.
am whether I've you're 500 pounds and you're getting to a goal, or you're 115 pounds and you're getting to a goal. But it's all within inside your own mind and your own psyche, spirit, whatever you want to kind of call it for yourself. But for me, it was that. It was me finally telling myself and acting on my true self thoughts and feelings, not necessarily to, go hurt somebody, but to put myself out there in a way that I'm like, you know what, this is who I am. This is what I like. This is what drives me. And I think I look pretty like
Yeah,
that.
you should
So I
though.
mean,
Like, but that's where that comes in of you being proud of yourself and the work
mhm,
you've done and not being ashamed of that or weird because somebody else might think this or it doesn't matter. As long as you're doing what makes you happy, that's again, like you just said, driving you, that makes you feel good about yourself, gives you that confidence. That's what everyone should be doing. Everyone should find that thing that gives you that purpose, that gives you that fulfillment, that gives you that self-love. That self-love is so important. I said this on the last one. If you're looking in the mirror and you hate that person, that's a rough thing because you see yourself in the same way everybody else does. You're putting out that into the world and it's changing those habits and changing those things in your brain to where you start loving that person and that starts with doing what you're doing and changing the way you feel about your body and you feel about the way you look. That goes such a long way with that self-love and I feel like when I was huge I hated the way I looked always, but I never admitted that. I was very good at putting that mask on and pretending it didn't bother me, pretending it was just normal, pretending I was cool with my stomach being that big or how big my head looked. Like I looked like I had a fucking bowling ball on my head. Like it just like you feel that shame of like, oh, what did I like? I really let myself go. Like what? And you hate it. Like I hated it. I got really good at just making that normal, making that okay and it wasn't until I started doing this where it was like, "Oh, I'm very addicted to this now." Like I love seeing my body change. I love seeing that like difference in that hard work I'm putting in. The problem is that hard work doesn't usually show results very quickly, and we live
Oh,
in that
no.
instant gratification society, so it's really hard to push yourself to get through that. So for this process for you, what was it like getting through that to get to that point where you did love yourself? Because obviously there was a time where you
Oh.
didn't.
It's a I'll be honest with you, and this is like as frank as it can be, and this is what people deserve to hear. It's a day-to-day battle.
Mhm.
Day-to-day battle. And I don't know how it is with men, but with us
The
women,
same.
yeah, yeah, with us women, it's very hormonal driven. It's very society driven. Like she looks like this, so I should look like this. Why isn't my belly as flat as hers? And I'm working as hard as her. And I look at all these other girls that are in the same position as me up on stage and stuff, and I'm just like, dang, why can't, and then I'm like, wait a minute, my body does exactly opposite and or different things than hers does. We
Mhm,
may have the same exact hormones and so on and so forth, but my body's going to burn things differently, and I have to get outside of my own head and tell myself I am my own independent person. And I'm not meaning it like to point fingers at anyone else who thinks, oh, you can do this because she did it, kind of a thing, because you can. But when
mhm,
it comes to it, it's all a mental mindset. Like it all depends on where you are in your own head and or process. So there's been several days, like especially during my heavy lifting days, on heavy lifting and low carb days when it's closer to stage time, I still have to lift heavy and decrease my carbs. So I'm like burning through everything that I have to burn through
mhm,
it. And I'm literally crying during a set because it is so hard mentally and physically. And people are like, oh, well, why do you want to do this to yourself? I'm like, well, because I actually do feel good in the process, but it just sucks when you're having low mental days. So being mentally prepared for it, which no one can bring you to that point except yourself also.
mhm,
But self-love and self-gratification only, this is what I believe, I don't know if you do it, but only comes with inside yourself. It
mhm.
cannot come from someone else,
Oh,
because then you're
100%.
then you're living in these highs and these lows of adrenaline spikes, and people are, oh, they're noticing me, oh, they're giving me compliments. But the only person who needs to be happy with themselves at the end of the day is you.
Mhm. Well,
And
that kind of falls into that people pleasing and the need for that validation. And once you kind of find that groove with that, you that kind of starts to dissipate where you start to realize like, oh, I need to do what's right for me. Like you spend all your life thinking about what your parents might think, what your siblings might think, what your friends, what these people, what that person, what this thing, and you can literally drive yourself crazy because you have no idea what they think. You have no idea what anyone thinks. All you know is what you think. And most people are doing the exact same thing. Most people are in their head thinking about what everyone else is thinking and what everyone else is going to do and say. And like, I told my kids that one time, I forget where we were at. We had left somewhere and I forget what it was, but basically the situation came up and I was like, hey, do you remember anything about anything anyone was wearing at that place? And no. And I'm like, neither does anyone else. Everyone's doing the same thing. Same thing with like sporting events or like if you get nervous, most parents are looking at their kid like, hey, you're good. Don't worry about it. Like you realize that everyone's kind of doing the same thing, living in their head, worried about what everyone else might think or do. And then it kind of keeps you from in fear of living your life, basically.
yeah, yeah, and it really does. Now, mind you, everyone's going to have different, I feel like, you're going to have different goals, different driven
Mhm.
things that you want for yourself and your mind and or your body, your spirit, whatever the case may be. For me, I genuinely think, and I hope others would kind of agree with this, but for me, it 100% has to start with the mind first.
Oh, yeah.
Because I feel like that's where we're most broken as individuals is our mind. Because for me, like I said before, it was about being enough. Like,
Yeah.
and deep down, it's not being enough for you. It's being enough for myself. And it's the hardest part telling yourself, like, you are enough and you can do this whole long rabbit hole of words of affirmation and so on and so forth, which, that's a beautiful thing. But really, for me, what comes down to it is like, stop self like abandoning yourself. Stop
Mhm.
gaslighting yourself, even if it's a small gaslight, like, oh, well, Jared could have done this a little bit better, and he's such a great guy, and I did this wrong. But you're like, wait a minute, hang on.
Y
Let me reel this back in and be like, Renny, you actually are a good person, and you didn't do this bad thing, or maybe you did, or whatever the case may be,
y
but you didn't actually intentionally try to destroy somebody, or what the case may be. So let's
y
reel this back in and actually stop gaslighting ourselves, because that's where
Mhm.
I feel like the negative loop starts in it
Oh,
all.
yeah. Well,
So,
'cause you self-sabotage. You start to overthink things rather than act. That
yep,
action kills that anxiety because you
yep,
start overthinking, you start, like, trying to overanalyze everything. I've done it with these podcasts a million times where, like, if I know I'm gonna do one, I'll start overthinking it. I'll start, like, trying to map it out in my head because I want it to come out, and it's like, "No, let it come out the way it's gonna come out." I don't want to
right.
prepare and it sound rehearsed. I want it to be me and Rennie having a real conversation and talk about the things that come up in the moment because it feels right and natural, not because I need to control every aspect of it. And I think that's where a lot of those mental loops come into play too, is trying to control things in life rather than letting things just kind of play out day to day, being kind of in the moment and understanding that even if it's negative, it's happening for you, not to you. This is a lesson of some sort. There's something here. You talked about like putting yourself through that pain. That that to me is the one of the keys in all of these things that I've done with my brain, my body, everything has been putting myself through these hard moments. Even my marriage, I talked about that a little bit on the last one, like diving into these things with her and kind of putting ourselves through these uncomfortable pains that we normally would have avoided out of fear of conflict or whatever. You stop performing, you start being yourself, you start and then kind of having that realization of like, oh, I need to just be myself, not perform for anything, just be me. And the right people will understand that. The wrong people, I have to understand that this probably isn't the right thing. And that came even with like my wife, where it was like, okay, hey, like we have to figure these things out and understand that. And if that's the case, that's fine. Like we just have to be able to figure that out and understand each other. And luckily we were able to talk through a lot of those things. But it wasn't always simple, but putting yourself through that pain, whether it be in the gym, running, it doesn't matter. Anything in life where you face that uncomfortable pain, on the other side of it, you always come out with a new whether you're mentally stronger, physically stronger, your relationships are stronger. It always builds something. You're sharpening that iron, you're building brick by brick, however you want to look at it. You're kind of also removing those chains that hold you down, those things that stick in your brain, like releasing those things, releasing those traumatic, painful things. It all kind of works together in that, I don't know, fixing your brain and body to an extent. Like, without the
Yeah.
mental stuff, I don't have the discipline to be in the gym 7 days a week. Like, it's turned into a literal addiction where like, I thank God it's a good addiction, I suppose, this time, but, like, it's something that if I don't go to the gym in the morning, like, I genuinely wake up and I'm like, "Okay, I like, I gotta go do something." Like, I have to go to the gym or something has to be done or my brain's gonna explode. And it's like, okay, that's kind of cool. Like, I'm glad that that's where I'm at because I used to just want to curl up in a ball and not move.
Yeah, for me, I like when I think about it that way, the way you just made it sound, and this is just how I process things.
Yeah,
Someone who feels the need to have to do that and not have like a specific goal driven for themselves, I'm not saying that you do. I
yeah.
feel like you have a sense of like an anxious, nervous system that needs to like move, that
Oh,
needs to work through that. Um,
yes.
so understanding, like, I feel like where that kind of comes from, that energy comes from, it'll help you kind of like realize that, oh, I don't need this to make myself feel good necessarily mentally. Because even then, it starts with you realizing I'm doing this to better myself physically, and hopefully the mental part comes first. But if the mental part doesn't come first, then you're still just kind of spiraling in the same place that you were.
So I was doing that. I learned that not too long ago, where the reason I was in the gym was not the correct one. And that's recently shifted over the last couple months. That was kind of the way it was going, where it was that, "Oh, I have to do it.
Mm,
I have to do it because if not, I'm gonna feel bad." But I think in turn, like, I'm kind of setting myself up for failure because I was putting that mindset there anyway, where I was already setting that up of like, "Oh, if I don't do this, I'm gonna." Well, no, it it's how I feel every day, and now it's become a good thing. It's become I listen to my body, and I don't have to go in there and lift as heavy as I can to failure every time. If I want to go and just walk or do yoga and stretch, but it's almost like that. It just feels good mentally, physically. I know I'm making that progress in my goals, and for a long time it was more of a vanity thing. It was more of oh, I'm in this wrestling world and I want to do this. I need to look a certain way. And if I don't do this, it's never going to happen. And I had to realize, like, hey, that's not a healthy mindset. And it's kind of the same thing with the eating. I went from eating like an asshole every day
yeah.
crazily to not at all. Like, then I would fast multiple days a week, or and it was like, then I saw pictures of myself where I was like, I could see it like in my face, like where it was thinning out. And I'm like, oh, I need to like give myself that fuel and the nutrients and get my body back where it needs to be. So it's kind of been that same thing of like a roller coaster for me, where it was that for a long time. But I would say over the last probably month now, it's become this passion and this like enjoyment thing where it's just like almost become my happy place.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I like that you put it that way, because that's really nice to hear. And it kind of like clarifies things for probably, I'd say, other people, like when they
Yeah.
listen in and stuff like that. For me, like specifically, since we're talking about that subject, before it was all about, not necessarily validation from other people, but me constantly validating myself. And I'm
Mhm.
like, oh yeah, that's cool and all, but like really at the end all be all for me is I obviously like to see the growth in myself, not just mentally, but physically. And I do believe that the physical part to grow there, um, in ways you can't necessarily do that unless you're kind of unlocked mentally.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
because if not, you're going to struggle to grow said super small muscles. Like for instance, your rear delts. The muscle's only about that big. It's not very big at
Mhm.
all. And to have the actual mind muscle connection, and people hear that all the time. They're like, "Oh, what is mind muscle connection?" It literally is like you focusing only that muscle and that muscle alone. Of course, you can't just work that part of that muscle alone, because it works with a whole bunch of other muscles also to get it to work, and fire correctly. And to be able to do that in ways, you have to be clear from beating yourself up or thinking
Mhm.
that you have to be something for somebody or whatever, to actually engage that muscle and grow that muscle. And like, I beat myself up all the time. I am my own worst critic. I am my own
Mhm.
worst enemy. And so, like, when I'm back there just ripping and pulling on, or not ripping and pulling, that sounds like I'm doing something dangerous, but when I'm really trying to, when I'm really trying to work and squeeze my rear delt, I'm just like, only like 2.5 pounds. And I'm like, this 2.5 pounds is kicking my ass, but I'm
Yeah.
squeezing and I'm working that muscle. And you know what? That's what it's about. It's literally about the muscle mind connection. And sometimes you can't actually be in that muscle mind connection mindset if you're beating yourself up, if you're thinking about what Stephanie said, or whatever, whoever
Mhm.
said about because someone's not good enough, or you probably shouldn't wear stuff like that at the gym. You know what? It is what it is. If you can't have that actual muscle mind connection because you're thinking about X, Y, and Z,
Mhm.
you're not going to be able to grow. So clearing that mindset and getting in the right spot is where you should be, like when you get in there. So some people will get, you can see people get on the treadmill for like what it looks like 10 minutes and they're doing like a steady fast walk and you're like, oh, it doesn't look like they're doing any much. They could literally be clearing their mind to be able to lift as heavy as they possibly can or whatever. So like when people get in there in the gym and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to look at this person do something weird. If that's what they're going to do, let them do it. But but
Yeah.
if you're wanting to like grow your actual self, you got to start with like the clearing and the growth here to grow said whatever, muscle or wherever you're at.
Well,
So
and I think that's where a lot of people this time of year, I know that's what I did forever, where you kind of get that mindset that you're gonna be able to do that, like, in that instant gratification mindset where it's gonna happen in this short amount of time, and I think that's why I gave up forever. I always would push and you just get exhausted. So mentally, I think I talked about this on one of them, but mentally for me, the that addiction to the food, that addiction to the pop, the fast food, it was that not being able to have it, that mentality of like, "Oh, I want it because I can't have it now," telling yourself, "Well, we're dieting, we're" and it I don't know how yours went, but for me, it was a slow process. It wasn't just cold turkey, cut everything out. It was like we started going to the gym a couple days. Then it was, okay, we should probably stop eating like complete garbage. Like let's make some changes here. And it just progressed over time. It wasn't a just like we dropped everything, started eating chicken and salad and worked out 7 days a week. Like it took us, it's been about 4 years now. We've like kind of locked into this routine. But is that kind of how yours progressed as well, or was it a little different?
I would say it's I would say it's actually a lot different because for me, I'm not really as much as I hate to say, even though I like the fancy things in life, I'll tell you that right now, like fancy dinners, going out to
Mhm.
doing whatever. That's just my personality.
Yeah.
But like when it comes to being in the mindset of being like, oh, well, have to have said food. Like I'm not very food driven, should I say?
Okay.
Um, so like as much as I hate to say that in that terms, for me it was never, oh, well, I need to stop eating this or oh, I need to stop eating that. It eventually became kind of that, like when I
Mhm.
realized that I can't eat I'm just gonna throw something out there, Skittles or a
Yeah.
Milky Way when I want to. Obviously,
Well,
because it's
when you
not
read
within my macros.
well, also when you read how much sugar is in them, like, I did
Yeah.
that with a box of Raisinets a couple months ago where I ate the whole box and I felt horrible, and I looked at it was like 58 grams of sugar in the box or something stupid, and I'm like, "Okay, like, what who would have thought that a small little box of raisins covered in chocolate would have that much sugar in it?"
Well, you add chocolate on top of it.
Yeah, oh,
it
yeah,
makes
sure, I mean,
it makes
I
it
knew it
better.
was gonna be sugary, but, like, it was alarming to me how much sugar was in some of this stuff.
Yeah, over the holidays, obviously, because right now I'm in my bulking season, my leaning season. Bulking meaning I'm eating as much as possible, but it's clean eating,
Mhm.
not dirty eating. Which obviously, anyone who doesn't know the difference between that is clean is like literally nothing processed, nothing anything like that. So I'm not eating Pop Tarts, I'm not eating any of those things. But so that's clean eating, clean bulk eating. So I'm eating as much as I possibly can and as clean as I can all for the holidays. Obviously, I relaxed a little bit and
Mhm.
had some cheesecake, and obviously, it hurt my digestive system
Yeah.
because I'm not used to eating that stuff all the time.
How much did that fuck you up? Because I know what's happened to me a couple times, and it's like, "Oh, that's why I don't eat this anymore."
Yeah, I felt like a slug in the gym probably for about 2 days. I was like, man, what
Yeah.
is like you're like sweating for no reason, and you're like, I'm just standing here. What is happening? And your body's like, you put a lot of crap in me, so I've got to work really hard to get that out of there. So.
Isn't that wild too, like, how used to that you get? Like, you don't realize until you do these things where then you do go back to eating that stuff, and it's like, "I used to eat this all the time, and it never affected me. Now I eat it once, and I'm down for a couple of days like I have a hangover." Like,
Yeah.
it makes I mean, it makes total sense, but then it, like, explained to me how bad a lot of the food I was eating was.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And like so that's kind of like what I did over the holidays. I didn't go extremely crazy. I just did enough to where it made me feel like, oh, I'm kind of participating with everybody
I'm
and
a
not looking.
human.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not just sitting here eating, white rice, salmon, and sweet potatoes all the time while everybody else is like over here having pecan pie. And I'm like, so funny story about, well, a little bit about pecan pie. So this was probably about 2 months ago. I was in the break room at work, and I work in healthcare, and all the girls in the break room. It's going to get real bad here, so I apologize in the future. All the girls in the break room was like, Renny, you're eating the same stuff, and you're making the whole entire break room smell so bad. What would you freaking kill for right now? And I was like, man, I'll be honest with you. I would have sex with a homeless person for a Milky Way. just, just to feel like
Oh,
something so great. But, obviously that's not the case. And I was like, I would just love a Milky Way right now,
oh,
in the lack of better terms. And
those
there was a
cravings get
student in the room, and the student was like, and I was like, I'm sorry. I'm
like, hey,
sorry.
it's real. Well, that it's
Yeah,
so addictive. Like,
yeah.
the sugar is so addictive, and because 'cause I'm like that, like, during Halloween was possibly the worst I've been on my diet because the kids had candy constantly. So it was like, I would go through and there'd be a Twix in the freezer, and I'm like, that looks delicious." And I would eat one of them. We'd have those, like, sleeves of the Twix, and it was like, "Oh, I can have one." Well, yeah, that one would turn into me waking up the next morning, and there's 6 wrappers on the nightstand, and it's like, "Hey, dumbass, we can't like, no, that is like self-control. We have got to
Yeah.
stop doing this." Like,
Yeah.
then I wake up foggy, my workouts suck. And it's like, okay, hey, this is the culprit. It is the sugar, but it's so good. Like, even though I know it's gonna happen, I'll sit there and like, all right, that cereal looks delicious. And it's like, no, don't do it. And I've luckily locked in to where I've only had a couple mess ups here and there, but there for a while I had a problem where I'd get to that nighttime and it was like, oh, I want sugar. It's so good. And you really do those cravings, like you kind of just have that fuck it, I'm doing it. Like I don't care.
Oh man, yeah, and then you like regret it, and it's
Oh
just the
yeah.
worst because
Ooh.
if you're eating the same exact stuff for months on end, because I've ate
Yeah.
the same exact stuff since August of last year,
Ooh.
and yeah, yeah, so and I will continue to eat the same exact stuff until after August 1st of this year, because my show. I have two shows this year. I have one
Okay.
in June and one in August. So my first show in June, the cutting season for me, I think I haven't bounced back on that. So cutting season, which just means everything gets lowered. That means except workouts.
Oh,
All of
yep.
my caloric intake and my macros and stuff get drastically lowered as I get closer and closer to stage, along with my water intake too. So I'm going to be a real nice person later.
That's okay.
And
You just gotta have those. It's one of those where you just feel the emotion, you don't attach to it.
well, and yeah, and so cardio now is not as much because I'm doing a lot more complex lifting. So
Okay.
complex lifting are like your squats, your leg presses, everything that requires almost your whole body to do said workout, and not just like arm raises or lateral raises or whatever.
So
So
can you explain, like, what does that do differently for your muscles?
the complex versus like
Mhm.
the yeah. So complex is like almost it's for your for me, and I'm assuming it's for other people also. You're burning more calories because your body's having to put in so much work to do like double workouts.
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh, I'm just squatting. This isn't double workouts, but you're working so many muscle groups while doing that. So they call it the complex because you're working so many complex muscles.
That that makes
And
total sense. Because the was it yesterday, I did deadlift for the first time in forever, and I woke up this morning and my shoulders hurt, and I was like, because I was gonna do back, and I was like, "Why do my shoulders hurt today?" And I'm like, "Oh, deadlift." I lifted up and
oh,
it
you
was
mean
like,
your
"Oh."
traps? Your
Yeah, it was
traps. Okay.
just all the upper, it just hurt really, really bad. I lifted my arms up and I was like, "Oh shit, okay, that does not feel good." And I'm like, "Well, I was gonna do back today. That's not that's," and I'm like, "Why do my shoulders hurt? I haven't done that for," and then it was like, "Oh yeah, because it like," and it's same way with bench. Like we did it for the first time in forever, and it was the muscles that hurt. It was like, "Oh, I am not doing enough. Like I have to change and hit these angles. I have to hit these different lifts. And then it made so much sense why my robot, by the way, I've started calling it my robot now since you
Yeah.
said that the other day in the gym when you said,
Yeah.
I asked my robot, I'm like, that is like the greatest way to describe AI is calling it my robot. And that's
Mhm.
been like my go-to now.
You can name it and it'll talk to you and tell you its name too. So yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I won't mind the name itself though. I think I
Yeah.
want it to
You
have its
can.
own
You
thing.
can.
That way, whenever it takes over the world, it doesn't murder me
Yeah.
immediately. At least like
Yeah.
knows I'm a nice human and I'm not trying to do
Yeah,
bad
ask
things to
ask it what
it.
its name is. But it's funny that you say that about your deadlifts, you know? So like that's why I question you. You're like your shoulders. And then I was like, "Oh, you mean your traps." Okay. So
Yep.
a lot of people don't know the difference between like your shoulders and your traps. So that's why I was
Nope.
asking, "Why in the heck are your shoulders sore?" Because when I
See,
think of shoulders being the bodybuilder that I am, the bikini bodybuilder that I am, shoulders are actually your delts. So these guys here. And so
okay.
that's why I was thinking, I was like, why are your
See,
shoulders
I
sore?
just went with the whole general area, just the whole like I was thinking like shoulder pads. It covers the whole area of the shoulders.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
where
okay.
my brain went.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're definitely, I guess the nice way of saying it, not wrong.
Yeah.
So no, so
Well,
that's why
thank you.
I had to question you. So like when I do and a deadlift is a compound lift also. Um, so when I do deadlifts and my heaviest like PR for my deadlifts was three or four reps at 235. And again,
Wow,
I weigh 115 pounds.
that's
Um,
impressive.
yeah. So what should really be sore? Yeah, your traps can be sore. It depends on how you're squeezing, obviously, and you don't want
Mhm.
to squeeze your neck up,
Well,
obviously.
I haven't done it forever, and it was one of those where I'm sure my form was not great because I was dying. I by the end of it, I was just it was like, all right, we're just gonna try to survive this last set and hope for the best.
Yeah, yeah. When I'm doing it, my lats are really sore because your lats should be engaged to make sure that you got strong core engagement and back engagement while doing it. Because if you've seen any like memes and stuff about deadlifts, they're called deadlifts because when you actually lift it, you feel like you're gonna freaking die.
Yeah,
Uh, that's
it's
the
not
point of
fun.
them. And so like my hips are really sore in the process. So that's why it's really important to do any type of dynamic hip warm-ups, especially when you're little like I am. My hamstrings, obviously. So your glutes and your hamstrings are firing like nobody's business doing the deadlifts. And so are your quads too. So glutes, hamstrings, quads, your back, yeah, I guess you can, your biceps and stuff like that are engaged also because a lot of people have blown out their biceps doing deadlifts. um, but a lot of things are engaged, so that's why all of those things are called compound lifts, and you burn a lot more stuff the more compound lifts and the more heavier lifts that you're doing with them. That doesn't mean you should just go out there rinky dink just pulling 500. Definitely not. But I mean, if you want to try, I wouldn't recommend it. But
Yeah. So when you started lifting and working out, was this kind of the goal, or did this kind of happen organically while you were getting in the gym?
No. So I would say it became the goal.
Okay.
Beforehand, like I obviously took a long debrief, and meaning a debrief meaning like 3 years off from the
Mhm.
gym because I was focused on family and growing that and whatnot. And then I kind of definitely strongly lost myself in the purpose of all of that. And I
Mhm.
lost my sense of going to the gym and like eating all the right things and stuff like that. So before I would still lift and go to the gym and was in there, but I wasn't really lifting for a goal. I just liked it because it was fun.
Yep.
Now I do it because I've always been very goal oriented individual. And now that I have like a mindset that I can do this for myself and do this for a specific goal, and it became more of like a passion and understanding that it's a lot of fun. It's really exhausting, but it's a lot of fun in the process.
Yeah.
So it's definitely became a thing for me. So it
So
wasn't starting.
well, and I don't know, like, how did you feel, like, about your body when you started? Because I know how, like, obviously, I talked about how I hated the way I looked. Like, was that
Um,
something you struggled with as well?
Yes, and I still struggle with it as a woman, and I think women will continue to because
Mhm.
obviously we've become the most idolized people on the planet because we're the pretty creatures. We're supposed to look good and walk good and like supposed to have boobs that look like this and hips like look like this, but
Well,
really
That's all
Really, it's
done
the
by
beauty.
design. That's all
It's
done to make you feel less. That's all done
mhm.
to make you have that mental I'm very convinced the way the media, the music, the way all of this stuff's played out throughout our life and our childhood, like, it's kind of done by design. It created a whole lot of mental problems throughout life, and I feel like you start to see that kind of manifest in that in a way. And the reason I asked that was because obviously going from having that mental struggle to being able to go out on a stage in a bikini and show your body, like, that's a very big transformation, and that's one of those huge mental barriers, like, being able to get yourself to that point where even, like, being able to put yourself out there on social media, being able to go out on the stage, like, I assume, like, there's a lot of mental that goes into that, where it's that, like, you have to kinda break yourself and jump those hurdles to an extent?
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. Like I love seeing the most confident women that who don't actually like, aren't lifting for a goal and or lifting for someone else. They're literally doing it for themselves. Like some of the girls that I would say that are new to any like bodybuilding and stuff like that and they get on stage for the very first time in the same exact bikini as me, which is little to nothing. And they're still really thick in areas, but they have all of this confidence in the world and it comes with inside themselves. Like you cannot teach somebody that. It literally happens for you
Mhm.
for a reason when it happens for you. It may be when you're 27, it may be when you're 57. It's sad whenever it does happen because you're like, man, I spent all this time just beating the crap out of myself. And
Mhm.
now look at me. I'm up on stage and I may be 250, but girl, I'm working it, like
Yeah.
that's the beautiful thing. When someone is just in their own world and in their own mindset and thinking that they're good enough, it actually tends to attract people too because they're like, "What
Mhm.
does she have that I don't?" You
Yeah,
know?
it's that confidence, that
Mhm,
self-belief is that, like, you kind of develop that, like, you I guess, like, just like what you're doing, like, you know what you want, you know what you're doing, and you develop that confidence, but from the outside looking in, it comes off as that arrogance or that people see it a different way a lot of times rather than seeing that, like, it took you a long time and a lot of work to be comfortable
yeah.
putting yourself out there like that, to be able to go out on that stage
Mhm.
and do that. Have you had that moment where you've, like like, you can feel that where you've had to, like, break a fear and kind of jump over one of those, whether it be, like, going out onto a stage and do
Uh,
that, like, have you had to do any of those yet where you've had to, like, really break that
every day.
fear? Yeah,
Every day, because if you think about it, if you treat life like a stage,
yeah,
um, I don't want to say pretending because that's not the case. Like, what's even worse is if you're pretending like life is a stage and you're pretending.
y
It makes your whole mindset just. Now, I don't want to say fake because that's sad to really call yourself that. But
it's
in the
pretend
hints,
though, it rather
yeah.
than being, like, fully yourself and okay with your flaws, and I think
Mhm.
that's where, like, I fell into forever was I just pretended nothing ever existed, no problems ever existed, nothing I didn't deal with anything, but then I became very overweight, I was very weak, I was not mentally strong at all, I didn't deal with pain in any aspect of my life, and that was what I became. I became soft, I became weak, and it took me kind of like spending the last 4 years, and I'm still it's a never ending process. I don't think I'll ever stop doing this. It feels so good to be able to break those mental binds, those habits. Like, that's literally the reason I started doing all of this stuff was the anxiety. I hated it. I hate that feeling. I hate, like, feeling that negative, that gut feeling, and it was like anything that caused that, I needed to address it, and most of it was mental. Most of it was like, "Oh my gosh, this is one of those things too, like, this triggers that too," and I just kept one by one realizing how many things that I was addicted to, how many things I was letting run my life, and then you kind of pull that energy back from all of those different habits, and I was already going to the gym, so that was just the most obvious place for me to place that energy. So every time I broke one of these habits, whether it was an addiction to food, an addiction to porn, an addiction to people pleasing, it didn't matter. Once I realized it was something that was fucking me up, that was something that was not good for my brain, my body, my soul, I started taking those and really fixing them, really adjusting them. If there were things that I was doing that weren't working in my relationship with my kids, with my wife, it was, oh, I need to adjust these. And it took battling through most of those to get to the discipline that I'm at now and to get to that confidence, like breaking these barriers of taking my shirt off in front of people. Like I showed pictures on one of where my body's at now, that picture I showed you the other day. And
Yeah.
like that was something that like I still have a complex of taking my shirt off in front of people. Like it's it's something that I've always struggled with and never been confident with the way I looked. So it's and I assume for women it's drastically
Oh,
different. And obviously you having that, like having men stare at you while you're on stage, like brings a whole different like world to it. And it was like that's why I wanted to ask that, of like how you were able to like kind of cross those barriers and kind of, I don't know, like almost push yourself through those hurdles to an extent.
yeah, yeah. So prior to bodybuilding, like I'm used to being on stage. So I used to do, beauty pageants, which is
Oh, okay.
the polar opposite of muscle pageants. So I'm used to being like judged and eyes on me kind of thing. And I hate to use it that way because that sounds terrible. But when you are up on stage, eyes are up on you
Yeah.
by the judges, and you're always going to be judged as soon as you're stepping on stage. So that I'm very comfortable with because that is what it is. But the parts of being so exposed, now this
Mhm.
one is new, because then it requires you to give a different type of self-love. Whereas like when you're in a big ball gown and you have like all of these pretty this and pretty that, and you're like just sparkling to the nine and like super lean, yes, but you're not showing off X, Y, and Z's of your
Yeah.
body, is a different thing. Like becoming confident enough to where you're like, I can actually show muscles off, which requires you to be in little to no clothing.
Yeah.
But they're not looking at you in well, they probably, some people probably are, but I
Mm.
can't say that this is the thing. They're not looking
Yeah.
at you in a sexual manner. They're looking at you to compare your muscles to somebody else's muscles to see if you're a worthy candidate to be in the first place position. Whereas beauty pageants, it's all about your charisma, your
Mhm.
goal driven of your education and how pretty you are and how well you can smile and your poise and blah 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 blah. Where it's completely different with muscles. They don't care if your face is the beautifulest thing on the planet or if you're the ugliest person on the planet. They
Yep.
care about what your muscles look like
Yeah.
compared to the girl standing next to you. So with that being said, that comes with a different type of confidence of loving your actual body. And I love seeing these women who were once really big and they have stretch marks all over their tummies and on their hips. And with their spray tans, you can still see the stretch marks,
Mhm.
obviously, but it's beautiful that they have just that internal self-confidence that they're like,
Yeah.
I am worthy and I am beautiful, the way I have cut myself down to this to be able to compete. And that's the thing too, you have to be in a competitive mindset. And I'm very much a competitive person, whether it's playing Monopoly, which I'll burn the house down if I lose Monopoly. And I'm kind of that way too. If other people are comparing themselves against me and my muscles, I'm like, oh, okay, no, I will fight you. So like I'm very competitive. And that kind of helps me drive myself too, because your stage presence is what people don't realize is really important besides your muscles as stepping on stage. So you can go in and just be all like meek and shy while still doing the same poses as me. But if I show up and I just got all this personality in the world with the way that I walk, my facial
Mhm.
expressions towards the judges, it puts me in a better vocal view of the judges than someone who's meek and quiet. And you're quiet on stage anyways, but your body speaks louder than you think that it does.
Yeah. Well, there
So
really is something too of like walking with your head up, with your
mhm,
shoulders up, like kind of not we've kind of just like as a species slouched over via the phones, I think. And it's just that like holding eye contact with like anyone's usually very difficult. Like for the most part, I always just walked with my head down. I never like, but then that was something I read one time too of like like walking with that posture, it helps your body. It like you feel better, you look better, you have it's like, oh, that makes so much sense. Like it absolutely feels better. It absolutely like I felt like my back and my spine not be as sore and just because I fixed my posture and the way that I walk. And it's like, oh, just stupid little things that just as humans, you just kind of fall into these like grooves and you don't
Mhm.
it's hard to step out of those grooves of comfort and make yourself feel those, I guess, that pain.
Yeah, for sure. And I like to put it this way too. And since we're, you talk about pain, I would say you're not truly living unless you've experienced some type of strong pain. That doesn't necessarily mean like you going through it all the time, but
Yeah.
you haven't experienced real growth and real parts of life without having pain in your life. And I hate saying that because it sounds terrible. Because there
It
may be people that never really experience that, but I've experienced physical pain and mental pain, and I
mhm.
can't judge one to the other because they're both terrible. Because if
Yeah.
you do nothing but spend 30 years of your life telling yourself that you're not worth it, that you can't amount to being like Jared, that you can't be as smart as someone, like that's a mental pain that it takes years to get
Yeah.
over.
Well, it's you versus you. You're
Mhm.
always in a battle with you, and in a battle of you versus you, if somebody has to lose, unfortunately, you are the only person involved in the fight. So you are
Yeah.
always going to lose that battle, and that was same thing. I had to learn that as well. Like that, I still do that. Like there's times where I still get myself in loops, and I'm like, hey. Stop. Like you are holding yourself back because you're overthinking this or you're like but luckily I'm getting to a point where I can analyze it. I can kind of catch it. I don't catch it every time, but I can catch it and go, oh, okay, hey, we're letting this fear or we're letting this overthinking of this or whatever, like pick your thing. But yeah, you can drive yourself insane battling yourself over and over, or you can just be yourself. Don't look at anyone else for validation. Trust yourself. If you're doing things that make you happy, if you're doing things that make you feel good and you're not hurting anyone else, fuck everybody else. It doesn't matter if you're intimidating people because you're confident to be in a bikini and look the way you look and go on stage. Fuck those people. That doesn't like that makes no sense rather than being proud of you and going, "Hey, this is really really cool what you're doing and like good work, keep it up. I hope you kill it." Like that should
Yeah.
be everybody's attitude towards it. Like, "Hey, go you. Go fucking kill it. Good for you for doing it."
Yeah. I may not understand why you're doing it, but I think it's great that you're doing it.
Yeah.
That's what people I feel like we need more of instead of being like, "Oh, well why is she doing this? Is she doing it for attention? Is she doing it because she blah blah blah?" Like that's the
Who
negative
cares?
part of all of it. Yeah. Like who cares if people are going to say those things? I mean, I can't say who cares because obviously everyone slightly deep down still cares. But
Nope.
it's the fact that you don't have to explain yourself to people
Mhm.
unless you feel like you need to, like and or if they're genuinely concerned or they want to know, if they
Yeah.
want to know they'll come to you and not go to someone else and just be like start the rumor mill which gets you all up in your head,
No,
but
I mean, it'd be different if you were, like, sending a bunch of people's husbands pictures of you in a bikini and doing like, then, yeah, they
yeah,
can be concerned about what you're doing, but if that's not
exactly.
the case, then, like, yeah, I don't understand the, like, not being just proud of you of, like, "Hey, this is really cool that you have the brain and the discipline to kind of put yourself through this pain to get to this result because your brain clicked and you're like, "Hey, I can do this. Like, I'm pretty sure I can make this happen. Let's see what I can do." And then to be able to mentally lock in and actually do it, like, that's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say about the discipline part because, like, if you actually meet someone who is really disciplined, I don't mean like super disciplined because they care about their job, but if they are so disciplined to the point that they're really to, like, I don't want to say mold their body, but should drastically change their body and they're actually in a
Mhm.
good mindset about it all, those are probably the most people that you actually want to be around
Yeah.
because they're probably 100% genuine.
Yeah.
Yes, they're like in a goal driven, really, really strict kind of thing. You don't want to go out with them because they have to be in bed by 9 p.m. and they have to eat 7 meals out of the day. But
Yeah.
they're probably the most honest and kind and driven people that you'll ever meet in your life, because to eat the same exact shit for 9 months out of the year is exhausting. And to
Mhm.
do the same exact workouts every 6 weeks and then they change is exhausting. But if you genuinely love it because you're a creature of habit like I am, because I
Mhm.
definitely am a creature of habit. So as soon as my workouts change, I'm kind of like, oh God, what do we
Here we
have to look
go.
forward to? Yeah. And then,
Yeah.
then my muscles are like, yeah, no.
Well, because you know how bad it's gonna hurt, because you know
Yes.
these, especially these new lifts or these different angles where you're like, "Hey, I was comfortable with those other ones. I really enjoyed those. Like, I
Yep.
was getting in a good flow with that. It didn't hurt as bad." And then now everything is screaming lift 1, and it's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, man." Like, "All
Yeah.
right, here we go." But that's again where all those schematics come into play of the breakfast before and
Yep.
taking care of yourself and how you're sleeping, eating sugar before bed, like all of those different things, it all adds up. And when you can kind of lock in and do them, kind of get them all going at the same time, it
Yeah.
you really do feel like a completely different human.
Yeah, and I'm such a creature of habit too. Like, and I work in surgery, so it makes things a little difficult when getting into the gym. I like getting at the gym around the same time every day because, for one, I don't
Mhm.
have to fight people for pieces of equipment, and
Yep.
two, when I get there, at least like 45 minutes off my normal thing, I'm usually like, man, this is terrible. Like, what is happening? And then you get in this weird thing because I'm like, I'm not on my schedule. I need to be on my schedule. So, but that's where I get a little too crazy. And I'm like, hang
Yep.
on, I'm at the gym. I'm doing my thing. I'm actually able to be here. And no one died in the process.
Yep.
So, like,
See, that's one of
that's,
those control things that I had to learn of like, oh yeah, like it's okay. Like we're here when we're supposed to be here. Cause I used to do that with everything. Like I didn't want to be late to anything. I didn't want to like I would speed to try to get there. And it was like, hey, no, I'm gonna do my best and I'm gonna get there when I get there. If I get there, like, cause I'm the same way. Like we work out every morning after we drop the kids off from school. So if I don't get to do that, it like it throws my whole day off. So 2 hour
mm,
delays, or it's like, oh, this is like my whole day feels funky now. I don't like this. Like,
yeah.
but yeah, I think that's good too. You kind of shock your system a little bit
Mm.
and kind of piss yourself off in a good way.
Yeah, yeah, and as long as you're perceiving it and accepting it in that way, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, and it's the same exact way with changing up my workouts every 6 weeks. I'm just like, I don't really want to do this because I got comfortable, and now I'm gonna have to do something new. But I'm like, you know what? My muscles are not gonna actually grow if I keep doing the same exact
Yeah.
workouts. So, yeah, and
Well,
learning to be a creature of habit is can be a good thing and a bad thing. So you have to really like sit down and realize what parts about it are toxic and what parts about it are not. So.
yeah, and that's very important too, and that's why my advice always to people is take it slow. Take
Mhm.
take everything you're doing slowly because obviously you are shocking your system. So whether you've taken a little bit of time off or this is your first time going in the gym, taking it slow and not I kind of like what you talked about earlier. I say this a lot, but not comparing your chapters. Don't compare your chapter 1 to that
Somebody
person's
else's
chapter
15.
30, 40,
Yeah,
50. Like they could be on the sequel book. You have no idea where that person is in their story. The difference is you are starting to write your book. So
that's right.
as long as you just keep putting in the pages, it will get there too. But if you don't start writing that book, it's never going to get there.
Yeah, and continuing with that book, and you have to understand. Oh, people have to understand that it's okay to have mess ups and to fail and whatnot. Because even I'm having mess ups, and I have fail
Yeah.
days. I have days that I can't lift as hard as I can, and like, and it's not necessarily like mindset. It has everything to do with like hormones and stuff like that too. Like, and
Yeah.
it's okay as long as I still continue to physically show up and put in the work. My body's gonna grow. My body's gonna respond, and yes, I 100% agree with you. You can't compare your chapter to someone else's because you're always going to be in a different season from someone else.
Mhm.
Even if you have done it the same exact amount of time as person standing next to you, but she's 10 years younger than you or 10 years older than you, you're in a different chapter and season than they are.
Well,
Um,
and we're all just different humans. You have a different journey, you have a different story than that person. They were on a path to start sooner than you. Maybe that was to show you what you're supposed to do in that moment. But looking at them as, "Oh, I'll never get there," or "I can't do this," because that person, like nobody cares. Like nobody in the gym's looking at you going, "Oh, why would that person be in here?" It's the exact opposite. It's like, "Oh, hell yeah, good for that person." Like,
Yeah.
good job. Like that's to me, that's I mean, I've never ran into anyone in any of the gyms I've been in that was like shitty to me in any moment of this process, that people weren't just super friendly to me at any
Right.
moment. So,
Right. Well, it's funny that we talk about in the season too, because I looked at the competitors and the winners last year of the same exact competition that I'm doing in
oh
June,
yeah.
who won it last year. And the girl who won it last year, this is where I got into a real crazy mind loop of my own. She's 17 years old and she won. And
Oh,
I'm like, what? I'm like, I'm not competing against a 17-year-old and losing to that. And I'm like, wait a minute. What are you doing? What do you stop that? Stop that. She brought the best package to that stage, to those judges' eyes, to be able to win to win that competition. That doesn't
wow.
mean that I should compare myself to her.
No.
Yes, she has younger muscles. Yes, she's younger. Yes, she can build muscles a lot differently than I can. But she brought a different package to that stage than what I could have brought in that moment too.
Yeah.
So
Well, and you
that's
can't
where,
control that. Like that girl, I assume if you go do some research, one of her parents had some knowledge on what
mhm,
bodybuilding was. Like, and my guess is that's she learns from those things and was able to get that at a young age. I had that thought the other day about like people with wealth, like families with wealth, or you like you always hear that, oh, that was a rich kid. Well, yes, that person did not do well with that, but somewhere in their family line someone did something. Someone took a risk and did something. And
yeah,
it was like, oh, that's a fascinating way to look at it. And it's kind of the same there. It was, yeah, it was just like that fascinating analogy of like, oh, yeah, like somebody did something. Like somewhere along the line, they had to do something to get to that point. So I assume same concept for her to have that knowledge at 17. One of her parents has some knowledge, I would guess, or some expertise in that field.
yeah. And the person that competed like next to her and got second place, there was like 15 years difference between the two of them.
Yeah.
So obviously she had a lot going for her being 17, like, genetics, because she was also 5'9". And so she's going to have a different type of look than someone
Yeah.
who's 5'3". My muscles are going to be built different. It's all completely different. And
Y
obviously comparing myself to her is where
yeah.
us women get into this toxic loop, but understanding that she won that specific competition because she brought the best package that the judges believed represented that division. So
Well,
that's
and
where I
to
had to
me
stop myself. I had to stop
yeah.
myself there.
Well, because that's no slight to you. That's you like it's kind of one of those scenarios where like you're doing your absolute best, but you run into a 0.0001% human being that just happens to be at the same place at the same time you are. Like that
Yes.
doesn't mean in your world you're not doing what like upwards of what 5% of people can do with their bodies, like it. So you kind of have that mindset where you can look at that glass, I guess 7/8 full, or however you want to look at it, kind of thing. Like it, you just happen to run into like, yeah, a one of one human that like, well, shit. All right. I mean, I assume that's what UFC fighters go through. Like
Yeah.
you get paired up with this guy that it's like, well, I'm going to get my head knocked off. Like this isn't good. Like I can't imagine they have that mindset. That probably wouldn't end well for their career, but
Right.
still I would guess that has to go through your mind at some point where you get this like super soldier that you know is going to murder you, and it's like, well, this isn't good.
Yeah.
That's not what I was going for.
Yeah. Yeah, so understanding like that people are always going to be in different seasons of their lives, whether that's their physical, mental, or wherever it may be, is really, really important. So, like,
Yeah.
and I have to put myself in that specific so other people understand that I do it too. I am not perfect, and I literally compared myself against a 17-year-old
Yeah.
bodybuilder. So,
Well, yeah,
and
and that's
and
where
I'm like,
just
she's
like
she's taller than me. She's got all of this, and I'm like, wait a minute, stop it. You are
yep,
equally as good as her. You're built a lot different than her, but
yep.
you could be what said judges actually see as the in season individual. So,
Yeah, you can't be her, you can just be the best version of you.
yep, exactly.
And I
I
think
love that.
that's yeah, having that mindset and, like, keeping that like, staying in your lane, not having that comparison to anything outside of yourself, and, like, yeah, there are gonna be people that are doing different things than you, that are doing better than you. All you can do is do what's right for you and start when you can start, because that yeah, that comparison of like, "Oh, I'm never gonna get there," or, "Oh, that person's so far ahead of me." That's you in keep yourself stuck in those loops, because then you feel like you can't do anything. You feel like you shouldn't do anything. Well, I'm not good enough for this. I can't do this. And then you kind of end up in that mindset forever where you just keep telling yourself over and over again, I can't. And that word will keep you bound forever, it feels like.
Yeah, yeah, it's trash can, okay?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. I
It's
love
trash
that.
can, not
Trash
trash can't.
can. Well,
Trash can, not trash can't.
that is perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking to me. I've kept you over a little bit than what I planned to, but I appreciate it. I look forward to watching you progress. When did you say your shows were?
I have June 13th and August 1st.
Well, I look forward to seeing the progress and good luck. Thank you so much for kind of sharing your story, and I'm sure we will absolutely get together again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a journey. So
Well,
anytime.
very awesome work. I'm very proud of you. Keep it up. It is really cool what you're doing.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Renny.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
Bye. Well, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it, and we will be next time. Bye.